What the hell is going on? It's Saturday, and for some reason, we're up in those downs. I swear, WWE, you have gone crazy. You have changed everything. The schedule is in the toilet. But of course, SmackDown Live is dead. Friday Night SmackDown is a thing, which means on a Saturday, we've got to get the finger of power out of my pants and do some stuff with it. But look, this is a big deal. Everything has changed. Everything is brand new. This ain't gonna cut it. So let's celebrate like we are having a good time. Don't need that. That was a ridiculous addition. Won't get off my fingers, but let's do it. SmackDown is brand new on Friday nights. Let's up those downs. Right, I've taken the hat and the glasses off because A, the glasses have the glare of the lights in them, and then, of course, the hat doesn't fit in my little YouTube screen. Don't worry about it. Let's kick things off by saying I really like the new SmackDown set. It's a bit as if a robot has come back from the future to the past and just rammed his fist through the bottom of the rampway, but it looked absolutely badass. And everything on this show was great, from the camera angles to the no shaky nonsense. It was all really good, and I'm excited to see the influence that Fox has on SmackDown. Give it up. Tying into things, we did kick off the show with Vince McMahon and Stephanie McMahon coming out, and this was fine. They didn't overstay their welcome. They did put over their new broadcast partner, which they were going to do. They did pay them $1 billion, and it is quite a big deal. And then we cut to the new intro, and it was on with the program. They did say welcome to history, which makes no sense. Nobody says that. Welcome to history sounds like you're some kind of history teacher, and you've got your new class for the year, and you're like, welcome to history. And everybody goes, oh man, history is going to be really difficult this year because we got this guy, he probably used to teach drama. Let's just move on. All of it was very excited though. The crowd was going absolutely ballistic, and this is probably why when we started the show proper, we began with the man, we began with Becky Lynch. Give it up. She was here to challenge somebody because she wanted to kick somebody's ass, and then hilariously, she got interrupted by Baron Corbin, and that's when it happened. I'm really sorry. I have to apologize here on this grand, fabtabulous day. I quite like Baron Corbin. I don't know why. He just won me over. He came out with all his King of the Ring stuff on, and he does look like he's just fallen off a budget Game of Thrones set. It's just so ridiculous, I can't help it. He ran his mouth with a man not even backing off an inch, which is when it happened. The Rock's music hit, and the audience lost their minds. He came down the ramp, he did some weird handshake thing with Becky Lynch, which I think they've talked about before, and then he pretended that he was going to do the same thing with Baron Corbin, and just fobbed him off. And straight away you were like, oh yeah, The Rock, he really understands pro wrestling. He just gets it. Rocky gave us a quick rundown of what SmackDown is, and he genuinely did do that too. He gave us a factoid sheet, which I didn't need, but I appreciated all the same. And then he turned to Baron Corbin and said he looked like a budget Burger King on crack. And you already know what happened. The reaction was massive. The Rock is very entertaining. Baron stole some of The Rock's phrases, so The Rock just turned to him and said, look, shut up, you 35-year-old virgin at Comic-Con. He was just throwing out the insults before telling Baron, look, just because you did win King of the Ring doesn't mean you actually have to dress up like a king. He then turned to Becky Lynch and went, look, she's called the man, but she doesn't come out here with a pair of testicles. And then without missing a beat, Becky went, but if I did, they'd be bigger than yours, Baron. So this may have pushed Baron Corbin down into jobber territory, but it certainly lifted Becky Lynch up. She's just flipping awesome. This really was so much fun though, don't get me wrong. It was an entertainment blast right in your face, and Becky even got to use some of The Rock's lines because she did the whole, it doesn't matter what you think. Now, it did crash and burn a little bit when The Rock said, hey Baron, you're a super tough dude, and obviously that stands for STD, which is what the most electrifying man in sports entertainment would now like us to chant at Baron each and every week. And while it probably will happen, let's try and kill that as quickly as possible. It's just a bit stupid for me. I know some people will love it, just my taste. Overall, this segment just felt truly big league though, and before all was said and done, Baron Corbin had been people's elbowed, and Baron Corbin had been rock bottom. It's going to hate the rating, it's going to help repeat viewership, people are going to watch this on YouTube or just tune in to see it again, and it helped Becky Lynch. It was a pretty damn good start to a brand new SmackDown. It was then Becky and Charlotte, and they were teaming up to take on Sasha Banks and Bayley. And thankfully, WWE didn't do that thing where they're like, Becky, I know you're already out there, but you're gonna have a match, so just get yourself backstage and then we'll send you out again. I mean, that is just stupid, and they have done it before. It would be like me just restarting ups and downs in the middle of ups and downs. Nah. up. Really, this was just here to highlight that WWE do consider these 4 wrestlers a big deal, and they wanted to showcase and highlight what they're able to do. They also wanted to put it over that, hey, Becky Lynch and Charlotte are the good guys, but Sasha Banks and Bayley are the bad evil guys. We would appreciate it if you reacted in turn. Eventually, they were all brawling in and out the ring because referees suck in WWE before Charlotte hit a very impressive moonsault from the top rope and then locked the figure 8 on Bayley and made her tap out. She didn't do an applause. She's now got her title shot on Hell in a Cell, which is happening tomorrow, if you can believe it. Fair enough. Kofi Kingston then made his debut on Fox and said that he was not just going to be another statistic when it came to Brock Lesnar. I mean, we love you, Kofi. We'll always be behind you. You were an absolute stalwart when it came to that WWE Championship. But, well, we'll get there, won't we? I love you. Bizarrely, we then found out that Mick Foley, Kurt Angle, and none other than Tyson Fury were at ringside. And if you think that's the last time I shall be talking about the former boxing heavyweight champion, you are absolutely wrong. In fact, I'm going to be talking about a lot of combatants before the end of this ups and downs. SmackDown went absolutely nuts. Seth Rollins, of all people, was then on SmackDown, and he was going to take on Shinsuke Nakamura before he got interrupted by the Firefly Funhouse. Give it an up. This was proper screwed up too. I mean, not only did Bray Wyatt reintroduce all of his puppet friends, because I assume WWE are like, well, hopefully some brand new people are watching this episode, so we should do that, and that is smart. But he just told Seth Rollins, look man, don't go to the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view on Sunday. The Fiend is going to be there, and the Fiend is going to do this to you. And he showed it off by having a match between Ramblin' Rabbit and Mercy the Buzzard, and Mercy the Buzzard killed Ramblin' Rabbit. Again, I mean, he's like Kenny from South Park at this point, but do not forget that we have been now told, the insinuation is that at the pay-per-view, the Fiend is going to murder Seth Rollins. Anybody else here would have called the police. We just shrug our shoulders and go, oh, okay, yeah, I'll tune in, I'll pay my $9.99. Hulk Hogan was also shown at ringside with Ric Flair, and then we did get into Shinsuke Nakamura versus Seth Rollins until it got interrupted. After they did start to tussle, the lights went out, they started to flash, and we got that weird noise that kind of goes, "Rah, rah." I can't do it. It's a bit like a dinosaur. It does sound like a dinosaur, and of course it meant the Fiend was coming into the arena. Somehow Seth Rollins just magically transported himself to the top of the stage, but there he got mandible clawed. It rammed his fingers right down his throat. Then the Fiend just took him and chucked him off the top of the ramp. And I would love to know what somebody thought of this if they had just randomly tuned in, because that's what they do on Friday nights. They just watch Fox. You saw a crazy dude in a mask chucking a guy who wants to burn things down, who is an arsonist, into the abyss. Wrestling is really weird. All in all though, I've got to say, it was another great segment, and once again, felt like a massive deal. Kevin Owens was up next, and he was fighting for his WWE career as he took on Shane McMahon in a ladder match, and my word, fair play to both of these people who just put their bodies on the line. That's right, it's getting another up. If you didn't work this out, I really enjoyed SmackDown. It did feel a bit like they were rushing because WWE had so much to pack into this show, but I mean, ladders were destroyed by coast to coast, ladders were destroyed by frog splashes, ladders were destroyed by power bombs, and it was that last one that led to the finish, because after KO had smashed Shane McMahon's back into the steel, he climbed it up rung by rung. He got to the top, he got the briefcase and the contracts or the lawsuit, whatever the hell is meant to be in it. And that does indeed mean that Kevin Owens stays on SmackDown, and this is a pretty good rub given that he got the win, but it means that Shane McMahon is fired until, of course, he turns up on Raw. I know how WWE works. When all was said and done, though, he got a microphone and Kevin Owens said, Shane McMahon, you're fired. And then he gave him a stunner for good measure. This is exactly how this feud should have ended. It was a real feel-good moment for Kevin Owens, and now let's hope we push him as hard as we can. I don't mean physically, just put him in good stories and stuff like that. Also, I do want to give a rare shout out to Shane McMahon. In fact, I'm going to get my hat, which is down here. I'm going to put it on. I'm going to tip my hat to you, Shane McMahon, because you always put your body in the line. I mean, you're an absolutely crazy person, because I do believe you're almost 50. But we've said a lot of things about Shane O'Mac. I appreciated the effort. To the back we went afterwards, and Paul Heyman told us in no uncertain terms that Brock Lesnar would win the championship tonight, and that was a spoiler. And you know what that means. Don't worry about that for now though, because beforehand we got Braun Strowman teaming up with The Miz and Heavy Machinery, who were taking on the very bizarre team of Bobby Roode, Dolph Ziggler, AJ Styles, and Randy Orton. Once again, What do you want from me? It was just fun. It was easy to watch. Up. Much like earlier, this was just another normal 8-man tag to say, hey, we're WWE and we're crazy and you're going to get action and you should watch us every week. Please watch us every week. Really need good Fox ratings. Until, of course, we got to the end. What's this? It's like that old thing that strongmen used to do in like cartoons. Way! Don't know what I'm talking about. For you see, when Braun and Dolph were fighting on the outside, Ziggler did get chucked into Tyson Fury, who we've mentioned earlier. Don't worry about that for now, because then we got back into the ring. Braun Strowman hit Dolphy Boy with a running power slam. 1, 2, 3, that was that. Or it would have been, but at that moment, Tyson Fury, the former world heavyweight champion in the world of boxing, got over the guardrail and he made a beeline for Braun Strowman. Now, he got stopped by about 67,822 security guards, but this is like a proper angle. This is a proper big deal. Braun was in the ring laughing like, like he was Zangief or something, and Tyson Fury was like, I'm going to take you down, pal. And it was announced after the fact that Tyson Fury is also going to be on Raw. Now, I can't actually see Fury having a proper match given the war that he was in only a few weeks ago, and the fact that at some point he's going to have a fight with Deontay Wilder, but still, this is massive. I saw a lot of wrestling fans going, who cares? Trust me, a lot of people care. This will get serious mainstream attention. Do you remember in the late 90s when WWE hired Mike Tyson? Now, this isn't of the same league, but Tyson Fury, despite having the same name, isn't as big as him, but it will still make a splash. And trust me, it got people talking, because I had non-wrestling fans text me all morning going, Miller, why Tyson Fury a wrestler now? I'm like, I don't know, I don't work there. But basically, in short, if you want non-WWE fans to tune in to your big brand new show on the Fox network, this is probably one way to do it. Then Roman Reigns was out causing more carnage, and I swear this whole show was just non-stop. He was going to take on Eric Rowan in a lumberjack match. It's getting up. However, we will talk about our first down, because I hate seeing wrestlers just used as lumberjacks because they come across as massive geeks. Well, I understand that some wrestlers have to do it, but when you have people like Andrade and Ricochet out there, it just makes me feel really sad. Tears in my eyes, and nobody wants to see me crying. It's ridiculous. Down. As for the match though, well, it was great. Well, no, not great, but it was just a lot of fun. And there is that word again. I really did think this was the best WWE show in ages. Of course, Luke Harper was out there at one point trying to get involved, but Daniel Bryan, who was on commentary, ran over to stop him. And when Roman was soaring over the top rope like a swan gliding down a lake, you'd have to imagine that at least one person who wasn't a wrestling fan beforehand and maybe watching this, all of a sudden went, you know what? I think I may now be a wrestling fan. The finish was a bit odd, given that we do have Roman and Daniel taking on Harper and Rowan at the pay-per-view. But Hell in the Cell at this point just feels like an afterthought, because even though Luke Harper got involved again and he was beating Roman Reigns up, eventually he turned around into a Daniel Bryan running knee. That allowed Roman, the big dog, to hit the spear on Eric Rowan, and he beat him clean in the middle. Does feel a bit like WWE has new fish to fry, and everybody who has been keeping the fire warm up to this point is now just going to be pushed aside. And that was no more apparent than in our main event. I said time and time again, I was worried with so much packed in for this episode of SmackDown that something was going to have to suffer, and alas, the thing that did suffer was Brock Lesnar versus Kofi Kingston for the WWE title. Doesn't just get a down, gets a brow down. Now you can look at this two ways, and we'll get to the second one in a minute, because the second one is the bigger picture and everything that happened after this match was done. But if you don't know, the bell rang, Kofi Kingston rang at Brock Lesnar, he got caught, he got F5'd, and he lost his gold in honestly around about 6 seconds. And don't forget, 3 seconds of that is the referee hitting his hand into the match. Straight up, let's keep it nice and easy. I think Kofi Kingston deserved better than that. I thought his title run was wonderful and he made me feel real emotion. And it ends like a car smashing into his nose. It was almost like the last 6 months didn't happen, but I will put on my positivity hat, I'm not going to get it again, and say this. Remember when WWE did this to Daniel Bryan? It completely turned his career around. Maybe we're not out of the woods yet, especially because it is true, Kofi Kingston will get more attention being in a 7-second squash match than he would if we had just done a normal 7-minute Brock Lesnar fight. We will see, but even still, it did just make me feel sad for Kofi, and maybe not in that intended way. Not in a way like, oh, I hope Brock Lesnar gets his. Just, man, Poor Kingston, he did everything he could. However, again, like I say, WWE had bigger fish to fry, and we were not waiting around at all, because my word, did they pull a huge angle out of their ass when all was said and done. As soon as Lesnar's hand was in the air, Rey Mysterio's music hit, and that made sense because of everything that happened on Raw, and he came out onto SmackDown, and by his side was Cain Valesquez. And if you don't know who Cain Valesquez is, he is a UFC fighter who in the real world legitimately kicked Brock Lesnar's ass. That's not just an up, that is a golden up. I cannot stress enough how massive that is, and I get it if you don't watch UFC, you're like, well, I don't care, but this isn't aimed at you, and that is the whole point, especially because Brock Lesnar and Cain Valesquez got in each other's face, and then Cain took Brock down and started beating the flubbles out of him. At one point, Brock Lesnar bailed, and him and Paul Heyman sold this like they'd seen a ghost, and even though the Beast pretended he was going to get back in the ring, he didn't. He changed his mind and he ran away. This is just a crazy narrative all around because, yes, again, in an octagon, Cain was able to beat the big bad Brock, and now they're going to settle their differences in WWE. And the key here is the fact that we are on the Fox network. You do have to take all these metrics into account because obviously for ages UFC was synonymous with Fox until the UFC went to ESPN, which they did recently. So if you were trying to get or viewers of the Fox network to watch your show, this is a pretty good way to go about it. Also, Cain Valesquez is like legit. Go to YouTube and type in Cain Valesquez knockouts or whatever. He's like a crazy person. And I know, I'm gonna love it more than anybody else in the comments right now going, but just honestly, you wait and see, I'll prove it. And my worry is apparently that match is going down at the Saudi Arabia show, which undermines it instantly. But finishing your first ever episode on SmackDown on Fox with Cain Valesquez, I don't think the WWE could have done anything better than that if the goal is to push ratings through the damn roof. I do need to point out, even though I did think this was one hell of a show and I was all hyped up when it was over, WWE had advertised the like of Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Sting, and The Undertaker, The Sting, just normal Sting, to appear, and yet none of them did. Now, I actually think that's a plus, because there was too much on this anyway. If you had tried and shoehorned them in, they would have felt like second fiddle, they would have felt second rate, but if you had bought a ticket because you wanted to see one of them, you are absolutely allowed to be annoyed. Especially Sting, that was amazing. All morning, my Twitter feed, the biggest upsetness was coming from the fact we didn't get to see Sting. Love the fact we still love Sting. Either way, that's a down. But that's it, we're done with the craziest week in professional wrestling for a long, long time. I'm worn out, I need some sleep. There's my spinning arrow. Not sure how this is gonna go, but genuinely, I had an awesome time watching this. It just felt electric, the irony, it felt electric, and it was just go, 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 go. Look at that, there's the massage hands. Give it an up. I cannot wait to see what the next few months brings. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about the first ever SmackDown on Fox. Like, share, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com and read yourself some articles. Watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling. And if you're on that there Twitter, follow WhatCulture Wrestling. My name is Simon from WhatCulture. Thank you for this crazy ups and downs journey. And you bet your ass we're gonna do it again next week.